just like talking. That's the thing.
Hey, thank you for joining the Escape With Me Book Club. Escape with me, Sam Reiner.
And me, Danielle.
Into our most recent read. Come with us as we evade reality and go into detail about a new book. We'll be covering the book from beginning to end, so there will be spoilers. Today we're going to futuristic United States because we go all over the place. Published April 5th, 2022, Youngbloods is the conclusion of the Imposter series and the last book set in the Uglies universe. So far. Shreve is far from saved, but the only way to bring down her sister is by joining the Youngbloods. But is this the right move, or will Frey learn not to meet her heroes?
That for sure was not her only choice, but I love it. I'm here for it.
I think she saw it as her only choice.
I support it.
So, background, this is a you pick, and a little bit you found out about this book because of the podcast, Cough Cough Me, being like, hey, there's a fourth one, back when I think we were recording, I think, specials.
Yeah, I didn't realize this had come out. The series I knew about, but I thought it kind of ended at 3 because honestly, it felt like it ended after the third one.
We'll get to my thoughts on that later.
But I mean, it's kind of like how Extras was. Like, was it necessary for the first 3 trilogy part of Uglies? No. Did it change and add a few things and you get more tally? Yeah.
But is that a good...
I don't know. Either way, the series is not done. There's no way. It might be 10 years from now, like we did with Uglies, and then 10 years later got this, but...
Andrew Simpson Smith will still be around.
Oh my god. I cannot wait.
Not in this book, though. Age level, young adult, and for content warning, we have blood, child abuse, mental and emotional, animal death, gore, graphic violence, kidnapping, and murder. Yeah, par for the course for this series, honestly. And judge a book by its cover. Tally's gonna set the world on fire again.
Doesn't she always?
There's a silhouette of a girl that's cut off by a silhouette of someone but in flame, which told me that, yeah, Tally's literally going to set the world on fire again. Yes and no. She doesn't just start a fire where a bunch of rockets are. She just straight up nukes things. Now.
Oh, but she's an adult now, so she should know better. Because it's been roughly 10 years since Extras-ish.
Yeah, it's been 10 years since she's last been seen. So, yes, 10 years since Extras. Which, by the way, they finally acknowledge in this series.
Oh, Extras?
Yeah, Frey mentions, oh, my eyes, I can see the planets and the galaxy and the stars and the Extras space station.
They made it, guys. It wasn't a waste.
But kind of is, because what was the point of shooting all the metal into space if we're... Anyway, sigh. That book is just the stepchild of the series, I feel like, even though I like it a lot. The lack of Tally until there's Tally, which, by the way, is how I feel about this book series. The book is great and it's doing good, and then there's Tally. She's back.
Back again. Look who's back.
To save nature by nuking it.
To be fair, in her mind, it made sense. And Frey, super rational, definitely not a basket case weirdo kid, also supports most plans.
Because hers are terrible.
Our 2 main characters have terrible ideas. I don't know. I got nothing. I can't defend it.
It's a little funny because Shay was like, oh my gosh, you're just a mini Tally, da-da-da-da-da. And then at the end, it's the big reveal. I'm not Tally, I'm Shay. And I'm like, I've been saying that since book 1.
The whole time.
That Raphia is Tally, and then she's Shay. I don't know. This book was weird. We talked about the first book was good, solid, set up the world. Second, really built upon it in a way seconds don't always do. And then third felt like a little bit of a filler, more like a walking simulator around Shreve at parts. And that's supposed to build to this book. I feel like he got to this book and didn't know what he wanted to do.
He wanted to bring Tally back, that's for sure.
He wanted to bring Tally back. Tally is still a problem. She and David broke up, apparently.
Which I support, because her and Shay were in love the whole time. I mean, they're not in love. It's me just fan casting them, and it's not real.
Even this book, you just look at Tally and Shay's relationship again, and it's like, this kind of feels like an abusive relationship. I'm worried about Shay and their relationship, is all I'm saying here.
Well, because Shay kind of gets called back. They're not constantly hanging out. She's basically coming to rein Tally in, though.
Yeah, and she just views that as her purpose now because Tally's so crazy because, her mind was never changed. Don't reference that at all, though.
Doesn't she cut her arm?
No, she does not.
Tally doesn't?
Tally does not. We do not have any self-harm in this book. Yay! Step up. But I didn't like the way the book was going at all. Like, suddenly you turn around and, yeah, Diego's been sketchy, but Diego has suddenly decided to create an AI duplicate of their father and just let him run around? What? Why? I was okay with the memory cores. I was like, okay, yeah, Diego wants that, and that's concerning what they could do with it. But no, yeah, Diego has just decided to send fake children into Shreve to spy on everyone because they created the dad AI who's actually running the mission and he's just spying on him, but it's also Diego. Why?
Yeah.
Why would they do that? They worked so hard to get an in with Raffi and Frey. They took down the dad, and yeah, I could totally see them taking the data and being like, we want to better manipulate or quote-unquote work with Raffi and Frey because they could be world leaders. But there is no reason for them to bring back their dad. Why would Diego do that? And it's never explained. It's just like, AI overstepping its bounds. That's a problem.
Yeah, AI is very scary.
It is. It's scary, but it's logical. Why would it specifically create an AI of their dad and let it just run rampant? What good does that do them other than being like, hey, guess what, guys? We're terrible people. And there are so many ways. I was on board with it's scary that AI has that much information about us as humans. And they immediately went to, they're going to create avatars of people. I thought they were just going to use it to manipulate people better and politic better, quote unquote. Maybe, yeah, send better avatars as politicians, but...
I mean, but you didn't see at least a little bit of it coming. Diego, in general, is an avatar, is already an AI, and then the City of Paws is a super in-network, not quite AI, but yeah, AI.
Yeah, but limited data. And so there is a conversation to be had about AI getting too much data. And frankly, this book, we're going to pull up your English major maybe, but definitely my husband's English major. This book's central conflict circles around transhumanism versus posthumanism because we have got the specials, which are basically not human anymore. They mess with their body, their skin, their bones, their muscles, their brain is messed with. And so you have to wonder, how much human is left over in these specials, which is kind of played within specials, but not in this book for some reason. So you have this next evolution of human, these specials, but hey, at least they're still somewhat human versus posthumanism, which is looking at, well, what if the next step in evolution isn't humans? What if the next step in evolution is AI? And so it's scary and dangerous because if you are a human, you obviously want humans to be the next evolution. We want to continue down past generations, have more children and their generation takes over and so on and so forth. And so we look at, but how much human are still left in these specials, because Frey even talks about her emotions. She went to Paz and she could control her emotions with the little dots and whatever. And I do like that Paz is like, there's a reason we allow negative emotions, but not just the good ones. I'm like, good job, Paz. But instead of having control of that, her brain has been changed and it's like, oh, I have calmness now. Like I don't feel things anymore and such and so forth. And so you have to ask, how human are the specials? Because you turn around and you look at Tally, the special, the only one technically still left. And she's over here like, yeah, let's nuke this whole forest area. We kill people, does it really matter in the long run? And so you ask how much humanity is left in these specials at the same time they're being like, oh, well, AI can't take over. So it's very interesting until it got to the point where they lost me on Diego's motivations. And they don't even try to explain. They're just like, oh, we defeated Diego and now they're going to vote on whether to keep the AI as it is or to reset it. No justification. Like Diego at one point like digging into this cave and be like, Frey, we need to talk. I really wish they would have talked. I have so many questions.
Well, and like Shreve, their city was supposed to be like the bad and the worst one because they had spy dust and everybody was being monitored. I mean, other than his own political whatever, nobody did anything with that information really. And then you have Paz who respects boundaries and you say nobody's allowed to come in the room or hear my voice or whatever. And then they don't. The city stops recording.
And they delete all recordings after 3 days.
Yeah. So Paz was doing it the right way. And then you have Diego sneaking in under the radar, being the good guy, saving and rescuing people. And it's like, no, you actually created creepy avatar children. And the avatars of themselves, I don't mind because Paz needs talked to and like Diego needs talked to. Shreve never had one because he was such a narcissist. He wanted to be in charge. He wanted to be the only figurehead. But it's kind of funny to see that Diego from the Uglies series, which was the salvation and the big city that was welcoming all of these runaway uglies and specials and everybody and pretties. And it's just like, and now suddenly they're the bad guy because they got, I don't know, too much information, too much power and freedom.
And I could totally believe that. I could totally believe an AI is trying to take over the world because it wants more information, because in its mind, it wants to do a better job. And the concern is, of course, when is it, well, to do a better job is to harm humans in some sort of way, manipulate them. You know, you watch The Matrix. When should we be concerned? Should there be a kill switch? Who watches the Watchers is mentioned in the book, and that's kind of where that is. And totally believe that. I could totally believe Diego got too big for its britches. I wish they would have played it up a little bit more in the other books, because it just looks like Frey is paranoid.
It comes out of nowhere is what it feels like, but it's not.
Nowhere. And like I said, I totally like the idea. I like the concept. AI is going too far. Like I said, transhumanism versus posthumanism. Why create an avatar of their dad and let him run free? That is where I'm stuck.
Manipulation.
But they don't even really use him. It's so stupid. And it's just an excuse for the father to be in the 4th book. And it's not even like Frey attacks him. Callie attacks him. He's in the book for maybe a chapter. But he's been running all these things because he wants more information from Shreve, which why does Diego care so much about Shreve?
They're not even that close of neighbors.
They're not. And oh my gosh, it got me.
The hospital.
Their hospital was bombed out, and so they're still building a hospital. And so Frey gets sent to Paz in Mexico. Do we have no cities between San Diego and Mexico all the way to Louisiana? Texas is gone, Arizona's gone, New Mexico's gone, nothing. Paz is the closest place to be sent to the hospital. Not even the other way either. We don't have any Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Arkansas, nothing. I want a map. This map gets me every single time.
I was going to say, have we talked about the map yet? On the map, on the map.
I just have so many questions. Why does Diego care so much about this random city so far away? I totally understand getting the data, although I would like to point out that the people of Shreve will not be like the people of Diego. So it would sort of help them, but not completely. So I feel like you should focus on, Diego and Paz and SeaTac and all the other ones. Victoria is closer than Shreve is. And yeah, it's great because they just went through a revolution. Now you're over Raffi. You can get stuff about Raffi. You can get stuff about Frey. You can even get stuff about their father to understand the city better and just to have all the information, because I guess AI greedy. But they put a lot of resources into this random city.
But my question is, do other cities exist?
Do they?
I guess that's my question for the author, because hoverboards and hovercars are fast. They can drive very fast.
And they have the maglev trains too.
Yeah. So if there are, let's say, 20 cities in the entire America left, because the cities do seem to be pretty big. I mean, catastrophe struck, so many people died.
Hundreds of thousands have died in Paz, and they still had enough citizens to have a functioning city.
Yes.
But they don't have millions of people either.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, because I've literally never thought about it before, because he could have drawn his map anywhere. I mean, Hunger Games, they do it where it's districts, but it's basically a town. Like, District 12 is one town. And I guess I've just never thought about it as such a small like for the Uglies series, their world is so small because it's post-apocalyptic. I can get behind that. I can get behind this is the closest city because there are no other cities.
But why Shreve? Why not try to take the Paz information? They're right there. Victoria's right there. SeaTac is way more interesting for them because you used to be literally enemies. I feel like if they're going to be paranoid about anyone, it's SeaTac, who are still making specials, by the way.
By the way, did you know we're still making specials?
And the best of the specials, because they can do hair and take out radiation and put iodine into the skin.
Yeah.
But Diego's going to focus on Shreve, which is in rubble. Why?
Also being run by 1/2 teenage girls.
If the main characters were not the rulers of Shreve, would Diego care? It just feels like main character syndrome. I liked Diego being a gray. Are they our friends? Are they not our friends? Are they trying to play us? They're clearly doing a political game here. And then all of a sudden in this book, oh, nope, let's recreate the dictator we just killed to take out of power because we were concerned about him being in power. Ah!
To be fair, this author loves to fight the city, and they've already totally tore through Shreve, and she sort of helped get Paz destroyed. So really, I mean,
it's just so out of nowhere.
Having Diego as a enemy, because she already basically turned 2 other cities into her enemies, like Frey did.
Yeah, but she's best friends with Paz.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Paz is awesome.
Paz is pretty great, and I stand by it. But I just don't understand why there was this hard left turn into, nope, Diego's the worst now. They are complete enemies. They need to be destroyed. I was really hoping when Diego was like, Frey, we need to talk to you, it was going to be one of those moments where like, oh, maybe it's not so black and white. Because that's what this entire series has been. The first series was black and white. The specials, bad. Rebels, good. And then we get to extras, and it's like, okay, well, are we the good guys? Are we the bad guys? But still black and white. And then we get to this series, and it's gray, 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 black and white. Suddenly. Even Raffia is no longer a bad guy.
You have to remember, this is a pandemic book.
Is it?
It was released in 2022.
Yeah, it's just out of left field.
I think he overthought it. I think he needed to wrap it up, get this one in the books, and just was like, yeah. Well, and that's how extras feel.
Yeah, but that was because it was written as a standalone. This is part of the series.
This author has a very formulaic, they have to go into the woods and be changed, and then they have to physically be changed, and then they have to fight with their other half, whether it be Tally and Shay or Frey and Raffi. They have to fight against the system, and there has to be a clear bad guy at some point, and Andrew Simpson Smith has to show up.
Only once, randomly in one book, he was not a part of this series. I feel gypped.
Yeah, he did show up in extras, though.
He was a part of extras.
So random.
But in this series, in the first book, oh yeah, he's one of the bosses. Anyway, we're gonna choose these other 2 random people, as he does, instead of the interesting person we have sitting over in the corner. I don't care about Boss Charles.
Oh, yeah.
That is the Fastio of this series to me.
You were obsessed with Fastio.
Why was he special and not Paris?
Paris didn't want to be a special. He was such a boring follower.
But they had history, Uglies. Fastio literally showed up out of nowhere, just being like, hey, I'm part of the crew now. No storylines, nothing to make me care about you, but he's just going to keep showing up. And that's how I feel about Boss Charles in this series. That he keeps trying to make me think that I care about this person, but I don't.
Hey, as long as he keeps Boss X around, I'm good.
True. Boss X acted weird in this book. Randomly, they're out in the woods and whatever. First of all, he complains about running, that it's undignified to run. What happened to natural? It's the same thing when he was like, oh, using a pulse knife is lame. Anyway, here's my pulse lance, which this book confirms is 10 times stronger.
Yeah, but it was so cool.
He insists on hunting bison to get back at Frey?
Just hilarious.
To make her realize that she hurt him by killing his love, even though she already knew that a book ago. I don't know. His plotline was really weird in this book. It literally was just cramming their relationship to make it mirror storylines with Raffi and Frey, even though it's completely different.
I mean, Rafi was in it some, but other than the super awkward, hey,
dear little shadow, I still don't think of you as your own person. Yeah, those letters.
Yeah, but she wasn't really in this one. And I know it's because Tally and Shay took the center stage, but...
Which I also hate.
I know, but I wanted her and Rafi to have a better resolution. Not like, oh, now we're friends, but I wanted it to come to blows. I wanted them to fully duke it out.
Have the fight that's been brewing all of these books, but nope, we're at the end of the book, so you two have to be friends, so I'm just going to decide that I need to be your Shay.
It doesn't feel like the series is over, and I think that might be how he intends to leave it a little bit open-ended, like the ending and stuff.
I feel gypped as an ending. We focus so much on Tally, we take away from Rafi and Frey, and they don't even come to blows or have a moment to be upset with each other. Nope, I'm just gonna tuck myself back into my role for you. She takes her name back, but who cares? Whatever, sure, it's not even that important at the end. I know it's supposed to be symbolic, this whole book. She doesn't want to use a name, and I finally decided to take my name back. I don't care. I don't like that you're just going back to Shreve to be her shadow and just to watch her how she leads, and then sometimes be like, hey, don't do that. But as you saw with Tally and Shay, Shay doesn't do anything. Shay doesn't work. She keeps saying, hey, we should pump the brakes on this, and then Tally does whatever she wants. Shay being there is pointless. She doesn't actually cause the brakes on anything. And it's just, ugh.
Well, and it also, because he's formulaic, that's also how the end of Specials was. Whenever Tally and David took to the woods and were like, we are going to keep each other in check and keep you in check, the whole world. And then it's like, where did this guy go? First of all, I mean, I'm a David hater, so I don't care.
I like that even Scott Westerfeld is like, yeah, no, they have a terrible relationship.
Well, adding him in when Cole's dead and bringing an extra weird dynamic, because 3 people join in, or if it wasn't Shay, if it was just Tally and David.
I don't know, but he was the only one that could curb Tally. He was the only one in the entire series who could be like, hey, don't do a thing, or do a thing, and she would do it.
The problem is...
Tally needs to nuke the world.
Well, true. But they're also almost 30, and he's an ugly that is getting old and gross. And Tally dipped out as soon as he started getting like that.
Okay, so the book says that David left Tally, that the world was too much. This fight was too much, and so he just went into the wilderness.
Yeah.
By himself.
Tally was too much. He said, this is bigger than I thought it was.
You're actually a horrible person, and I don't actually like hanging out with you.
Well, because, even in the actual books, she was so mean to him.
And he was so mean to her. It was horrible.
Cole forever.
Which just makes Shay's loyalty to Tally that much more pathetic. Ugh.
See,
Asterix was more of a character than Shay was.
I love Tally and Shay, so they can't make me hate you, Shay.
Oh, I don't hate Shay. I'm just sad for her. And I'm sad that that's just what Frey turns around and does. Just completely I've started forgiving my sister because X made me hunt a bison. What is happening? What is going on here? It was so weird. Why are we hunting a bison randomly in this book? It was so random that X was like, we're going to hunt a bison. And then there's a whole chapter about hunting a bison. And I was just like, this is going to be so jarring for any teenager who's like, oh yeah, hippie, save the world. And it's like, nope, hunting bison. Graphic scene of then skinning the bison and cooking it. Okay. It was so, I can't get over the bison chapter. I literally looked at the book and came out of the whole imagining the words and whatever. It took me out of it, and I just looked at my phone because it was a Kindle book, but I just looked at it as a book and I was like, what am I doing here? Why are we here? What is going on?
To teach her a lesson.
But this book was rushed. And you want to know how I know? There are so many typos in this book. And not even I saw 2 or 3. So many typos. There were 3 in one chapter. There were just typo after typo after typo. And I read out loud as I go because it makes me read faster because dyslexia. But I was reading it out loud, and there were so many times I had to be like, wait, what are you trying to say in this sentence? The typo was so bad.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've physically read the book because I got them for my sister for the Christmas that came out and then read it and then gave it to her. anymore, so I don't physically own a copy.
It's bad.
So I did the audiobook last time.
It's fixed, of course, because audiobook.
Well, and in the physical book, you also notice more than I do, but the Kindle version wouldn't be different, would it? What's in the actual book?
No, they usually just upload the file, so it's usually the same thing.
Wow.
And I don't know the effort it would take to fix typos like that. It probably would take a lot of work, but it's been 2 years. If they were going to fix it, they would have fixed it by now.
Yeah, it's a pandemic book. I stand by it.
But here's some other examples of this book doesn't make sense. To actually get in a little into the plot, their first mission is they're going to get poachers, except they're not poachers of animals, they're poachers of trees. Is that still a poacher? Okay, wait a second. I'm going to be pedantic. Yeah, a person who hunts or catches game or fish illegally. Yeah, illegally hunting or capturing of wild animals. So we're not looking for poachers. Anyway, it's about trees. They get there, it's children, and they're like, oh my gosh. And so they try to go back to the thing, but oh no, there's minders. So how in the world are we going to get in? Because even though Raffi is in charge, we're not going to circle her in. We're just going to figure this out ourselves. So this is left over from Dad, possibly. This whole book is Tally going back and forth and Raffi being like her father or not being like her father, and that doesn't get a satisfying ending. It's just, no, Frey, having you kept me from turning into my father, except not at all. But the point I'm trying to make about it not making sense, to get her into with the other children, the plot point is that Shay breaks her foot, right? It is broken. It is shattered. It is destroyed. It is ugly that she talks about it, right? But then later on, when she's writing on Tally's board with her hand and Tally slams her foot down on her, she's like, oh, well, the bones can't break. They can only bend.
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense. It's in the same book. And by the way, you want to know what else is great? Donna Oliver never comes up again after the second book where she's like, oh, I should kill her, but then doesn't.
Well, she followed the dad. She only cared about him, so once he was gone...
They never confirmed that. And so I literally thought maybe Donna Oliver's out there. Maybe Donna Oliver is the person behind some of this. Maybe she made a deal with Diego. And that's how this got looped out and around. No, Donna Oliver's not in this book. She's not important. Why? Because that's why. That's the one that sticks in my mind the most of being continuity error. Because at least the other continuity errors that we've seen are between books, but this is the same book, man.
Literally in the book. Like, you forgot it after you wrote it.
Yeah, I don't know who edited this, but they did it. Get your money back. Oh my goodness. This second part of the book doesn't feel important.
Yeah, this one, it's not quite a filler.
Because it's the end of the book, but it's a filler.
Yeah. Okay, let's finish it out, which might be worse than a filler book.
But in the second part, they go to the house. They want to get in to get all the information about Raffi, which also that doesn't come up ever. That's not important that they tap Raffi's information. So Frey breaks into this room. That's really obviously a Frey trap. But breaks into this room. Raffi walks in and thinks that Frey is Diego AI because the system doesn't recognize her DNA because it's the same as Raffi, which I feel like if you're going to take DNA, you might as well take fingerprints too, but oh well. Which, by the way, identical twins don't have the exact same DNA. It's significantly similar, but especially with how much radiation Frey has gone through, her genetic code is different. Also, just life courses can change your DNA. There's just so many things where they wouldn't have the exact DNA, but it would be significantly similar. So I feel like it should have been caught.
But what was it she was testing for? DNA?
She tested it for DNA, and it's like, oh, well, it admitted me because I have the same DNA as Raffi, which is not true. Like I said, it's significantly the same, but nature versus nurture, it would cause issues. And there's so many reasons her DNA would be weird. Turning her into a special, I feel like should really change her DNA, but that's beside the point. But my thing was fingerprints, because everyone's fingerprints are different. Even identical twins don't have the exact same fingerprints. Usually similar, so they'll probably both have loops or whatever pattern. But the minutia, the things that they actually test for, which I've forgotten the name of, it starts with an M though, like the breaks in the lines or this weird patterns or something, the thing they actually test for is different. So this scene shouldn't have happened anyway, but that's beside the point. If that that is the bad science, I'm fine. We have lesion-eating nanos that we're just not going to talk about, which he does not bring up in this book. He also doesn't bring up that the end of the world was caused by a scientist creating gasoline exploding nanotrones or whatever. Whatever, it's fine. Nanos can do literally anything. Fine, I'm okay with it. But this shouldn't have worked. But Raffi thinks that Frey is the Diego AI, and she learns that her sister supposedly does miss her, doesn't seem to know about the hideaway, and that Diego is trading data for money and other resources. Frey leaves that conversation, goes back, and she's the one talking to it. And so she blackmails Raffi. She says, if you don't get us this stuff, you're going to be sorry, basically. And Raffi is like, you're going to get it. My gosh. So Frey's takeaway from this is she goes back to her friends and she's like, yeah, Diego is blackmailing Raffi. When did Raffi say that? You're the one who blackmailed. There is no concrete evidence. And that's what bothers me in this book. She jumps to so many random conclusions that she has no proof of. And then they happen to be right because that's what's convenient to the plot. And I'm just like, you thought things out. You made a Grey series. You've had this such improvement. And this book just feels rushed because they needed a fourth book. The movie's coming out anyway. All the other books were so well thought out, or at least attempts were made. Mirror's Edge was meh. But this one, it was rough.
What's the time between the third and the fourth book?
A surgery. It's the same as not the same, but the last book ends and Pazea is like, Tally, Youngbloods here to see you. We start this book, she just got a surgery, and then she's going on a mission with them to get poachers.
Oh, no, I meant in real life.
Oh, in real life? I think they're a year apart, all of them. Let me double check, but I think they're a year apart.
Because they did come up a lot quicker than I felt like Uglies did.
Interesting. 2018 for Imposters, 2019 for Shatter City, 2021 for Mirror's Edge, probably because COVID and everything fell apart.
Pandemic, yeah.
And then Youngbloods for 2022. So I'm not going to include 2020 for obvious reasons. Basically every year. Ugly series, on the other hand.
They were a little more spaced, weren't they?
Oh, no, they were not. 2005, 2005, 2006, 2007.
2 in 1 year. Oh, Scott Westerfeld, what are you doing?
Well, maybe that explains why Specials is so bad. I don't know. I feel like his writing is so much better when he just stops focusing on Tally. Every time Tally comes up, the book's just wrecked.
I want to give some of his other books a chance, but also I don't think I do.
I don't know. Like I said, Leviathan's being turned into an anime, but based on the art of the cover, I don't know how interested I am. It's pretty rough. Also, there were several times when they were like, oh, the AI is evil. Anyway, here's Paz.
Paz is so cute.
Your message only goes so far.
Oh, I did just do I did that Peeps book.
Oh yeah, vampires, right? I don't know why of all his books you were like vampires.
It's just so funny. It's like romantic sexually transmitted vampirism. And the main character didn't get it because he's just a carrier. So all his ex-girlfriends he's got to go chase now. It's the funniest book. Please read this. It's so stupid. It also might be a series, honestly, because it did not feel like it was done.
I'm not going down that rabbit hole right now. So far, I don't like the Youngbloods plotline. I don't like the Boss X plotline. I don't like the Diego plotline. I don't like the Future plotline. I don't like it was the Futures. The guys we have already proven are pretty incompetent are the ones who actually managed to get the cores. I thought Frey was going to be like, oh, it's the Futures, and we think it's the Futures, but all we find is one of the founders who is part of Raffi's government. And so is it Raffi sent them to do her dirty work to get the cores to Diego? Or is it Raffi using them to get the cores out and to be like, oh no, they've been stolen. We can't give it to you now. That's where my mind was, both of those. But no, it's just the future kids and they're stupid again. If you talk to them, you're losing your brain cells talking to them. And it just makes the Youngbloods look that much more incompetent. I hated them in the last book. I hate them in this book.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be a dig at Gen Z and like how superficial they are with only our lives matter. The Futures are taking a sort of political stance about it where they're like, we want to be the ones that are remembered. But Scott Westerfeld always does some kind of like commentary on the actual world, which is how Uglies started. Young girls being impressionable and eating disorders and different like body dysmorphia, like, what if everything was perfect and we had none of that? And it's like, no.
And then he adds all of it.
Yeah, that actually was part of the problem, yeah.
But it's so unrelatable. Eating disorders, harming yourself, he doesn't handle them well, but they are topics that come up. The beauty industry, mindless entertainment distracting us from the real issues of the world. I don't know if Scott Westerfeld was the person to bring all of that to us. Maybe the beauty industry, I think he does that decently until he gets background information, then it's really bad. But then you have extras and you have social media, and you can see where his point is. He's actually very good at keeping it together and having a message where it's like, you can use social media for good, but you can also use it for evil, and admit how quickly misinformation can be spread and how it can all be fake. It had a point. What's the point here?
AI bad.
Oh, not the AI bad, with the futures. We are creating these made-up stories for people in the future. They don't really use hover cams. I mean, they eventually start using them, but it just feels like you're crapping on Gen Z, which I don't know if you've noticed is your target market now. For these books, anyway.
Yeah. It definitely felt like it was at Gen Z, though.
Which is just rude. There's no lesson here except for these kids are stupid. We hate them anyway. Don't care if they get killed. Because all she cared about was if Tally got out of there. It is never mentioned if any future has escaped from the dirt digging. I don't even know what to call it. They created a castle, but there wasn't a roof because they're stupid kids. And so Diego just dug into them, and then the ceiling came down and they were buried alive. And literally the only people we know about is that Frey gets out, and all she cares about is if Tally got out. Screw Asterix, which apparently comes up again, so we at least know they're alive. But never. We are giving no word that any of the futures make it out alive after that. There's no message here. You're just being rude. But that's like a third of the book is chasing the futures in the battle, and then you turn to Diego and you're like, oh no, we have actually been kidnapped by Diego, and Diego is like, hey Frey, we need to talk. And so you think, okay, so they're gonna talk like Diego's been doing every other time. Their modus operandum has been like, we will talk to Frey and we will make it make sense. Is it honest? Is it true? Unclear, but they'll make it make sense. But instead they kidnap her and then just keep throwing fake AI at her to try to get information, and then, oh, by the way, your father's here. Anyway, Tally immediately killed him. Not even Frey. Tally, he's gone now. Well, I guess we need to nuke this. Bye. What is this book?
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much else to say about it, honestly. It kind of wanders around for a little bit. They have little side quests. There's no real huge mission besides Frey eventually realizing she should help her sister not be the worst, which I think she totally could have replaced Rafi, but she didn't have the heart in it to do it.
No, she just immediately folds to being her shadow again. She does not take any sort of option. Oh, it bothers me so much. She spends 3 books getting out from under Rafi, realizing maybe she's not a great person, possibly psychotic. She's got a problem. She still doesn't feel bad about Cole. Not even in, I'm sorry that's the decision I had to make. That would have been way more interesting than Rafi being like, nah, I'd do it like 1,000 times more. So I hope you enjoyed those 3.5 for this book. Books of Frey getting out from Rafi's shadow. Anyway, she's immediately going to go back under. Do exactly what Rafi wants her to do.
Yeah. I hope the series isn't done because this is very dissatisfying.
It's been 2 years and no announcement.
I mean, it probably is done because he likes doing 4 books in a semi-series.
Yeah, it is the 4th and final.
Yeah.
If he does another series, maybe we'll get a look at this, but it is very unsatisfying. All our other episodes, I feel like, are way longer.
I have nothing else to say about it, even as a whole.
There's only so many ways I can say I don't like this book. Even the things Frey does just gets on my nerves. Like, they go to the quote-unquote sarcophagus. The tower's radiated, so they're going to put concrete over it and cement it so it doesn't actively cause an issue. And so they break into that to get those recordings, and oh no, someone got here before us. And so she gets out and she's like, Shay, we need to follow those silverware things we saw earlier. And she's just like, it's too much to explain to her right now. And it's literally the cores were under the silverware.
Yeah, they had time.
It's pedantic, yes, but when there's so many things one after the other. Also, Frey just keeps saying, but they're just a bunch of kids talking about the futures, which we still don't know how the futures managed to do any of that. We're just like, nope, we're just going to ignore it. It's so stupid. But she keeps saying it, but they're just a bunch of kids. And I'm just like, what is this series? What are you? What were you and Cole and Tio, but a bunch of kids running around and Zura just shaking her head? By the way, Zura's in this book for half a second and never again.
Yeah, a lot of guest stars in this one.
And none of them get a satisfying ending or anything. Zura has been a huge character for 3 books now. Nope, she still hates me. Bye. We need to focus on Tally.
I know, but I mean, Zura was wrapped up in Cole, and she technically has no business hanging around Frey.
Yeah, why in the world were they in Shreve? Anyway, they were in a rebel base near Shreve, which does not make sense. You should be with Tio.
Why don't they just go to the Diego headquarters?
Go to Victoria. It is a free nation. Tio is in charge. Zura is in charge of the army. Why are you in Shreve?
Yeah. Her changing her face to not look like her sister who's in charge, that was a smart move, but also...
It's been done.
I mean, yeah.
And I cannot stand every single time she changes her face, Raffi throws a fit about it.
Because she likes looking at her mirror.
Yeah, I feel like it undoes some of the work the book has done.
Oh, I love the complication of twins in books, so I think that's why Tally and Shay, they're not twins, obviously, but like...
They're very close.
They're parallel, and then with the actual twins parallel, I don't know, I like it. I like that protagonist, antagonist, anti-hero, whatever.
Here's the other thing. Futures steer the core, go off into the night. They're not sure what happens to him. They manage to track it down through Sarah, which, by the way, apparently there's a clique that now try to look like Cole.
That one's so creepy.
That's weird. That was the only moment I was like, oh my gosh, in this book, because I was, oh, I'm sorry, Frey. But also felt like a snipe at Gen Z because Sarah's like, oh my gosh, I didn't think of him as a real person. And there's a bunch of people doing it, so I don't think it's just about, but all you get is Sarah, who's one of the futures, and she's kind of the worst. And so it just feels like another dig at Gen Z, where it's like, oh, you're trying to get involved in all these causes, because they are the most conscientious generation so far, but you don't actually know what you're doing. I don't know, it was weird.
Yeah, definitely the social media aspect.
But there's nothing relatable to it, and so it's not a commentary. But you find out they're all the way by SeaTac, basically right next door, the ruins that Tally was in, and it's only an excuse for them to go back and relive, oh yeah, this is where the rusty ruins were, and whatever. But it took them 3 weeks by hoverboard to get from Mexico to the Appalachian Mountains. It takes over a day to get from, I think it was Shreve to Paz. It takes a day by maglev train, but in 2 days, these people have made it from Shreve to SeaTac and have started constructing a castle. 2 days. Hover car.
I just genuinely think he forgot what he wrote.
Why?
Also, time means nothing to the plot. You can say 4 days later when we showed up there.
And there was an interesting part where Diego was trying to track them to get to the cores, and I was like, okay, that's actually pretty cool. They trick her, get her to wear this necklace because, oh my gosh, it's all the stuff you need to know.
Yeah, parallel. Scott Westerfeld's like, hey guys, you like Spiffs and Uglies. Here it is again.
So that one was at least interesting, but like I said, it leads to, oh, by the way, there's this gigantic ship in orbit that has your dad's AI who we have allowed to take control of this ship, but also not connected to actual Diego, because when they nuke it, it gets taken out, but it's not Diego, because Diego still exists. I have questions about that, but I cannot get over the climax of this book is that Diego, who for 3 books has been trying to murder this man, has created his exact AI and given him back control. Why? It's not even a satisfying. I cannot stress enough that the only time we see them is him walking out being like, oh, I'm still alive, and Frey being there, and Tally taking him out. It's not even a moment for Frey to take her father out. Tally takes him out. It is just so stupid, and it didn't need to be a plot line, but they just did it because, oh, look, he's in the fourth book too. He's so terrible, isn't he? And it's just, I hate it so much. Anyway, I think that's it. Looking through my notes. By the way, part 5 was labeled Whole Truth, and I was real excited.
No truth.
I was like, yes, we're going to find out that things aren't exactly like Frey thinks they are, and this person's this, and Raffi's doing XYZ, but maybe she's not, and Diego's doing something that we don't agree with, but not necessarily downright evil at the same time. But nope, it's just, oh no, AI might take over the world. We can't let that happen. Let's nuke things. And the aftermath is Tally having nuked this one area near SeaTac and then causing all of this damage. It lists specifically all the damage that is caused in the area because of Tally. And Tally, once again, has a wanted poster in SeaTac. She then goes off to Diego and sets off several there. But does she take out the AI? No. She just did it for funsies. To be like, you're mortal too. What? That's the ending of this book, by the way.
That's the whole thing.
Because the citizens of Diego are voting, but Diego's winning. So what was even the point of that, Tally? If you're going to set off several radiation bombs around the city and then purposely not take out the AI, nothing has been accomplished. She is a menace to society.
I know.
This is the same girl that caused a massive fire in a place with rocket fuel. I think she needs to not. Maybe she just needs to retire. Whatever she's doing is not okay. But it's taken like, oh, haha, Tally, so cheeky, saving the world, escaping from Diego. Frey being like, yeah, go, girl. In the end, even though she knows Tally is unhinged.
Yeah, Shay definitely sat back and watched. She did not
do anything in this book. And for the conclusion to be then, Frey becoming the Shay to Raffi's Tally is just depressing. That's literally the book. I've gone through all my red notes. That's all I got. Anger and sadness. And now I can't buy this series as a box set, which is lame because it's cheaper as a box set. But I don't want this book.
Oh my goodness, it's so dramatic.
Oh.
In 5 years from now, read the fourth one again.
I hate it as much as I hated Specials. I don't know. Specials was a special kind of, ugh. This doesn't have any sins, per se, like that book did, but it was rushed. It was not edited. He did not have enough time to come up with a full plot here to actually use Tally to a good advantage. She just takes over the book. Frey follows her around like a little duck, then is like, wait, maybe I shouldn't, but oh no, I should have. Anyway, I'm going to go back to Raffi now.
Yeah, I definitely wanted more Raffi Frey moments.
I wanted more literally anyone but Tally.
To be fair, in this whole series, Raffi and Frey aren't really together. They get separated almost immediately when she gets sent to Cole's house, and then held prisoner by the dad, and then they swap, and then held prisoner by the dad.
And then they're separated during paths, and they get connected again, and things are a little weird.
One of them's the rebel boss for a little bit. That's kind of neat. We don't stay with the twins hardly at all.
No. And
then she's suddenly a special, and then Raffi's running the city, and it's just, I don't know. I wanted more of them.
Everyone is taken out for Sally's sake. Raffi's taking out. Boss X is nuked. Yandri is barely there. Even Croy, who is one of the Youngbloods, is barely in this book. Shay is barely in this book. Asterix is constantly there because they're tech specialists and they just need someone to always give them tech. It's just like that one guy in the first book who runs a science cooking channel, but hey, he knows about coding solar panels and how much biology, to know how much water and food they have for how long. They just needed a science person, and so they just gave him all the science. That's what they did for Asterix. They just gave her all the technology.
Like a villain boss.
Riggs is there for a chapter. Tio's not in it at all. Zura's in it for half a second. Sarah's in it more than some of our main characters, and she's just annoying. There was this random guy named Veracity that was at a Shreve party, and you think something's going to come of that, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yandri's in it, maybe a chapter. Boss Charles is mentioned. They give more attention to this random person from Yandri's crew called Dancy than they give to Yandri. I don't know why Yandri wasn't used. But yeah, no, everyone's just taken out. They're not important. Tally's important. Tally! I just feel like her coming in took, I don't know, maybe he was just getting pressured about it. And he's like, well, we want Tally back. Tally. The movie's coming out. It has Tally. We have to have Tally. And it just completely overtook any good storytelling.
I mean, I like seeing her and Shay, but I wanted more Rafi.
Yeah. I wanted more literally anyone. It was just literally chapters of Tally and Frey talking. General thoughts? I don't have any.
With that.
Oh, gosh. But I want us to just go to one question for the author here. I want to know whose idea it was to bring Tally back. I genuinely want to know if it was his idea or if it was publisher's idea. Not eventually. Like, I'm sure he's like, yeah, I wanted to bring Tally back, but I really want to know if the publisher was pushing for Tally.
Or fans, even.
Well, I mean, fans, then publisher. Or you're right, it should just straight up be fans. And he's just like, well, I want my fans to be happy. They're loyal because of Tally, because of the first series.
Well, and he brought her back in extras. And it's just he just has a copy and paste. He has a very specific formula
that he likes to use for his series.
And it just, I don't know. By the end of it, it's a little bit too much of, well, we already saw this.
Yeah, I honestly thought that this book, even though it's his strength, this book had too many action scenes. They were just back to back to back to back. And it just didn't allow any plot to happen.
Yeah.
Because Tally's gonna go take a picture of a grizzly bear.
Yeah, they were constantly moving, and so you never have a chance to settle with any of the characters, really.
And it just felt like the only way he knew how to handle Tally was in an action scene or Frey and Tally talking. That's the two options you have for Tally. She's either in an action scene or it's just her and Frey talking. No one else in the conversation, just those two. She gets a special audience a lot. And I don't like how anything wrapped up. I don't like how her relationship with Boss X and Yandri ended. I don't like how her and Tally ended, even. I don't like how her and Rafi ended, or her and Victoria ended. It's not. I know you already asked one question, but
I'm going to keep that as my question. How many actual cities are there? Is the population small enough to justify that these big major cities, for some reason, in these big giant city areas,
super far away from each other?
Yeah, because like in Hunger Games, it does work. Even District 11, which is huge, it still is like, I don't know, maybe the size of Chattanooga or like St. Louis or somewhere that's a big city. But even the amount of people that they see, like in Uglies in the first one, or even in, they don't really describe like the whole city. She walks around and paws a little bit.
Yeah, and she walks around Shreve a little bit, so you kind of get a vibe. But
are there cities closer? Are there tons of cities like how we do, like in America now?
Have we just completely taken out the entirety of the East Coast and that just doesn't exist anymore?
Yeah, it is very West Coast and then a little bit of Louisiana.
And nothing in between.
Yeah, but there are big Texas, all of the Midwest upper, there's nothing.
Seattle survives, but a Houston or a Dallas or an Austin doesn't.
Did that turn into another country? Is it completely gone wasteland? They had to keep going west to walk away and avoid the plague stuff with the oil, whatever, even though it doesn't because it's in Seattle too.
I could totally believe an Atlanta doesn't exist, DC doesn't exist, but you don't have a Nashville, a Chattanooga,
Texarkana area. It is very
random.
West Coast, a little bit of Mexico area, and then Louisiana is the farthest I think that we go. But it's like Seattle to which one? So there's one in like Mexico.
Paz is in Mexico and Victoria is in Mexico.
Does the rest not exist?
We have more cities in Mexico probably than we do the entirety of the U.S.
Yeah. If they're close enough, then clearly, obviously, the United States don't exist because they're treating Mexico cities as their cities that they just casually walk to.
That they're all on equal footing. Yeah, there's no bigger.
Are they part of a new country together? Are they literally the only people left in the world? world.
No alliances have formed.
World building.
Yeah. Rating. We didn't start the fire out of 10. Because I sure didn't. I didn't ask for this. I feel like we're fellow rebels here looking at Tally and being like, why are you in charge? Why do we worship you again? Maybe let's not. That's how I feel. I've been so on board with the rebels until we get to this point. And I'm with Boss X and Yandere, where I'm just like, everything you do is sus and bad for the environment and just fun for you at this point. Yeah, she feels like a megalomaniac where she enjoys having the power to make the bad guys, quote unquote, the next monster feel bad or scared. And so she's just amping it up to the point where she's just like, yeah, I'm just going to bomb places now with radiation. Multiple in Diego. We didn't start the fire. Callie did.
I'm going to give it, we did start the fire out of 10 because they keep letting these children be in charge.
Oh my gosh. It's a YA. But yes, also yes. Without having Azura as a prevailing head, it has gone off the deep end.
Okay, Rafi was going to do whatever she wanted. They're like 17, something like that. But it was not a democracy, but their dad just took power. Anybody else can take power. It does not have to be a bloodline keeping it going. He's dead.
True. He may have legally changed it, so Rafi would be the next one, but the book points out if 50% of the council doesn't like her anymore, she gets to move on. And probably correct. I don't know why Raffia was really the first person that they went for, considering.
And Teo makes sense because theirs was a generational long lines of whatever being rulers. But also, he's like 14. That seems like a bad idea, too.
And Zura's not there to help him because she's hanging out near Shreve because reasons?
Checking on everybody. Diego didn't even try to elect anybody. They're like, nah, our AI's got this. Taz doesn't have an official leader. It's also AI. Y'all letting children and AI take over the world. I got it. That was the whole message of this. Don't let children and AI take over.
I know, it really does feel like he dumps on Gen Z, but they are the YA. The Uglies series YA was millennials, but this is almost 20 years later. It's the next generation. Why are you dumping on the people buying your books?
It is a weird take.
It doesn't feel like commentary. It feels like parody.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it is.
But that's dumb to do against your own audience.
Yeah. And then there's people like us who are eating this up.
Except for this book.
Well, I mean, not this one specifically, but...
Which, to go into read again, I would stop at the third one.
Well, it's like with extras. I skip it about a third of the time that I read the whole series. I just skip it.
It ended so well at 3 to be like, oh, Tally's here. And then I can mentally imagine what happens next. But no, I think I would just read the first 3 books and stop.
Well, and it's like there was hope. Oh, Tally's here. She'll help make it better. And then like at the end of specials where it's like, okay, Tally and David, they're going to set the world right. And then you get into extras and it's just chaotic because of Tally being Tally. She can't help herself. And then it's like, oh, actually, maybe we don't need your help. And then she goes and hides in the woods for like 10 years.
Favorite of the series. We are no longer favorite of the series so far. Shatter City. I like Shatter City. It had enough of Raffi being her own person, and Paz was fun to explore and learn, and I feel like there was some good actual commentary about stuff before it went kind of off the rails.
I'm going to go with Imposters. I like more of the dynamic of her and Raffi actually coordinating and talking, even if it's through terrible messages. And Frey is really trying to stumble on her own and falls in love with Cole. I don't know. She has so much promise back in Imposters, where she is getting out from Raffi's thumb, but she just doesn't know that she's under it, really. But she's getting out from under her father's thumb, for sure. Her falling in love is so cute. As a commentary, whatever, obviously Shatter City is better because it has pause and learning all of the feelings, just different world building stuff. Definitely that's the strongest book. The one I liked best was the first one. With the whole series, including Uglies through extras through Youngblood, of all 8, what would you probably be the best? What would your favorite be?
Shatter City. Imposters is just light years ahead of the Uglies series. It's hard to go back. I still stand by the first Uglies book. but Pretties is, and I like Pretties too, but Specials is just unforgivable, and it just taints the entire series for me. So this series is better, period. I would rank maybe all of them, but the fourth book higher than just all of those books. So
yeah,
still Shatter City for me.
Fair enough. I mean, Uglies would be the one I think I would like best.
You like Beginnings.
I love Beginnings.
I think that's just it.
I mean, Uglies has body dysmorphia stuff, but it's so set in the culture that it's normal. And then it gets into Pretties with all of the cutters and the actual losing weight to do stuff. And I don't know. It's a very different time and place that those books were written, that they could not be written and published in 2022, 2024. So I'm glad that the series evolved. Mine would have to be a tie, even though the Ugly series is chaotic and very traumatic and problematic. But I like Beginnings. It is weird being done with the whole series, though. 8 books.
It is weird being done. We binged 2 series back to back, and now we're like, what are we doing with our lives? But we'll figure that out. But have you read this book? Callie or Shay? Do you have any book recommendations for us? Tell us all about it in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit like. And if you're enjoying yourself, hit subscribe for more. Thank you for exploring Youngbloods with us. Join us next time when we'll be covering Go the Distance by Jen Cullinita. I'm Sam Reiner.
And I'm Danielle.
And we hope to see you and a friend here next time. Escape With Me Book Club is a Lunar Skulk production. Check us out on TikTok or Instagram to keep up to date with us. Lunar_SKULK.